Hi everybody, I hope you're all doing really well. So it's been a little time since I've spoken to you, and as you may be able to tell from the surroundings, I've actually moved house, so we're in a different location, and I thought what better way to christen a new home, a new room, than to do a book haul. This will probably be the last book haul that I do before Christmas, and I think there's a nice collection of books here, so without much further ado, let's just get into the books that I've bought over November. First off was actually a book that I have already read, and I do actually own a copy of this. It's probably the most pretentious start to a book haul, but if any of you watch Graham Norton, you probably will have seen a clip of Judi Dench when she was on promoting her new book about Shakespeare, The Man Who Pays the Rent, and during it Graham Norton asked her to recite a sonnet, and she did so, and it was absolutely beautiful, and it sparked a lot of conversation about Shakespeare, about how his beautiful language just transcends centuries. And there was just, you know, this very pretentious part of me that was like, you know what, I feel like I should always have a copy of the sonnets on hand, and I didn't, so I ran to my nearest Dawn Books during lunchtime and I picked up this gorgeous edition. Unlike the one that I have at home, which is the Pelican Shakespeare, which has some really good notes and footnotes, this one is literally just the sonnets, no notes at all. It's a very clean, fresh copy without any of my annotations, and I just like the idea of always having a copy of this on side. Bit unusual for me, I also picked up a couple of plays this month. The first one being Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw. Now, most of the text in here is pretty familiar to me because a couple of years ago I was in a production of My Fair Lady, and since actually reading this cover to cover, I've noticed how very similar a lot of the dialogue is. In fact, there are entire chunks of this that are just replicated in the musical, but it's also been really interesting to see what the musical left out, as well as a lot of bits that they added in that in my opinion do actually improve the story. Another play that I picked up is Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett. I've always got it in my mind that I want to get more into poetry and more into plays because they are two areas I don't really delve too much into, but I am interested in. Obviously I am very interested in theatre, but a lot of my theatre interest, it tends to be musical related. And Waiting for Godot was a play that I was meant to study at school. We started studying it just after my AS levels, which is lower sixth form, and then the summer break came, and after summer I got moved to a different English set, so I didn't end up finishing Waiting for Godot, and I've always wanted to come back to this, and I feel like it's one that I'm going to appreciate a lot more now, and hopefully just gets me that little bit more into plays when I come across them. Next up, still on the poetry theme, is Christmas Eve at the Moon Underwater. This is one of Carol Ann Duffy's little annual Christmas poems that she publishes every year. I think I've got pretty much all of these, and this is the 2023 offering. I just love these. So it's Carol Ann Duffy's poetry, but then scattered throughout are beautiful illustrations. There's always a different illustrator each year. This one is illustrated by Margolyes, and yeah, just a stunning little thing. Another Christmas book I'm adding to my collection is A Scandinavian Christmas, Festive Tales for a Nordic Noel. You'll see last month that I picked up an Italian Christmas, and the year before I picked up a German Christmas and a Ukrainian Christmas. So you see, I'm just making my way around Europe. I was out shopping with one of my friends who'd come down to Oxford for the weekend. I took her around Blackwell's, we had a great time, and then I saw this at the checkout and I just could not leave it alone. And this just has a collection of Scandinavian short stories that are all festive themed. A very massive tome of a book that I got from the publishers was The Dinner Table. Over 100 writers on food selected by Risbridger and Kate Young. This is basically an anthology of lots of different food writings from different authors. I think mostly fiction, so passages from different authors' books or short stories, which go very descriptive on food. But then I think there are also some cookery writers included in here as well. We've got contributions from Salman Rushdie to Audre Lorde to Nigella Lawson. I think there's a bit of Charles Dickens in here. As you see, it's a massive thing and clocks in at just under 700 pages. I thought this was going to be a really fantastic one to read for non-fiction November. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to get around to it because it's the 28th of November as I do this video, but definitely one I'm looking forward to. What I think is my one and only romance book in this book haul is Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood, the latest offering from one of BookTube's favourite romance writers. And this time, instead of focusing on women in STEM, we're actually looking at a chess player. I think this is going to give plenty of rivals to lovers, which don't we all enjoy in our romance? Next up we have a memoir, which is Oh Miriam, Stories from an Extraordinary Life by Miriam Margolyes. Last year I read Miriam's first memoir, This Much Is True, which was kind of a birth to now memoir. This one I believe tells some of the different tales that she didn't get around to telling in that original book, as well as some life lessons. Miriam's stories are known for being a little bit raunchy at times and often just provoke the line, "Oh Miriam." I think she's a fantastic storyteller, so I'm very much looking forward to reading this. The penultimate book in this book haul is Normal Women by Philippa Gregory, 900 Years of Making History. This very chunky tome on, as the title suggests, the history of normal women. History is so very focused often on kings, queens, nobility, and Philippa Gregory is instead deciding to look at the women who are often left out, going from 1066 up to our modern day. Despite being a history and historical fiction lover, I've never actually read read any Philippa Gregory, just because I know that she does tend to editorialise a bit with the history and play a bit fast and loose with the facts, but I was really interested in seeing her non-fiction offering, and I wonder if reading her non-fiction, which I do trust to stick to historical sources, might make me just a little bit more open-minded about her historical fiction, and maybe a little bit less judgmental than I probably am, and being able to appreciate the choices that she is making when she's writing her historical fiction. I don't know, I just feel like this might open some doors for me. And it's the perfect book to do that with, because we all know that I love a bit of history about women. I think this will be a great one if you're looking for books to read for History-a-thon next March. And then the final book in this book haul is one of my most anticipated releases of the year. It is The Temple of Fortuna by Elodie Harper, the third and final book in the Wolf Den trilogy. I have been so looking forward to reading this. The Wolf Den is set in Pompeii just before the eruption of Vesuvius and is focused on the life of Amara, who we meet at the beginning of the Wolf Den enslaved to a brothel, having to work as a sex worker to survive, and her quest to secure her freedom. We then pick up in The House with the Golden Door, which I have a review for down below, and I absolutely loved. I actually thought it was better than the Wolf Den. It just seems like Elodie Harper's writing is getting better and better. And The House with the Golden Door left Amara in very different circumstances to how she started it. There were so many twists and turns that I didn't see coming, and so I'm just expecting more great things from this book, but it'll be very sad to leave these characters behind. So there we go, that is a brief overview of all of the books that I bought in November. Do let me know if you've read any of these books or if you're interested in them. Alternatively, let me know about any books that you picked up and loved in November. I would love to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks. Bye.